It is Tuesday afternoon, a little bit after 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here. And welcome to Rise and Thrive Together behind the scenes. Super excited to be with my sister Raquel as we go behind the scenes from such a fun, extraordinary um, episode from last night with our guest, Karl Fryburg. What's up, Karl? What's up, sis? How's everybody doing today?
Good afternoon. I'm doing fabulous down here in not so sunny South Florida.
I'm good here in snowy New Jersey.
Oh, that's right. In that beautiful jet car of yours last night, you were saying that you were driving home in that snow. So you have a few inches, or are you kind of still in that?
We don't have anything really.
Okay.
There's snow, but nothing to talk about.
All right. Well, here we are behind the scenes, and let's go. And I'm curious, this, what did you walk away with? Any burning kind of questions or something that you want to ask Karl while we're here behind the scenes?
Well, one question I had that I didn't get a chance to ask last night, Karl, is you said you had a lot of failure in your business. And which one did you learn from the most? Did you learn from your failures or your successes the most?
Well, I failure tough, is a tough word. I look at failures as learning curves, as learning experiences, ways to figure out how not to do something the next time. Um, to say I had lots of wins and lots of failures, that's only because lots of tries and lots of attempts at lots of different things. So, um, as we kind of joked and laughed a little bit last night about like with multi-level marketing, my new book, Speak of What I or Do What I Say, Not What I Did. That's kind of the thing that happens. So I think, there's the great successes taught great lessons and great failures taught great lessons, and everything kind of between in the middle. It's all part of the continued and never ending educational process that is what is known as life and serial entrepreneurship. So I never look at a failure as a setback. I look at it as a way to regroup and figure out, okay, so now we know how not to do this. Now let's figure out how to do it right.
Okay, awesome. I was just curious about that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still sort of like, so, like I'm like feeling your energy, Rock, because you know how we are on our show. So I'm going to say, I get it, right? We are clear that you are a lifelong committed learner and that we're all in that. That's why we're here. We're all aligned together and a journey to be on. But I am curious, here you go. Behind the scenes, what is that one? Like that one, I think if you really just take a moment, there's something somewhere inside of this journey that opens up to another space and another learning lesson. But that one piece that you can say, hey, here's something I remember at this point in time in my life that was like, that just shifted me and pivoted me to say, boom, I'm now going to take these actions and I'm going to add that to my toolbox. And I really feel like everyone, and this is for me, there's some foundation, right? You got a house, there's got to be some foundation and some pillars there that keeps you grounded. So I want to go past sort of the, as a person who's like you, lifelong learner, but like, what are some of your foundational pillars through those, experiences that you've been through that, maybe didn't work out the way you wanted them to? And what's a, hey, I've learned this and this is going to be a pillar that I'm going to stand and keep with me at all times?
Um, I mean, there's just been so much and a lot along the way. And I almost inevitably revert back to more motivation, more education. How do I go? I just signed up for another all-day event in Miami for May 17th because it's time to get my cup filled back up. In the network marketing and multi-level marketing world, there's a lot of lessons that get taught and that you learn. And, something that I read recently that really hit home and made a lot of sense was that people people talk about um, how you get yourself so involved in trying to help everyone else, to fix everybody else. I mean, we're all kind of in the business of trying to help and fix everybody. That's part of our passion and what it is that we do. But there's times that you have to kind of draw the line and realize that you can help some of the people some of the time. You can't help all the people all the time. And I think, especially in the multi-level marketing world, I know you've had some background in it yourself, Regina, and the carrying, for lack of a better term, the concept and the idea that you're I don't want to say dragging people along, but I found myself getting way too involved personally in the failures of the others around me, and trying to go within and figure out what it is that I was doing wrong that was causing these people, as myself being a leader, to not have the success that I was having in these programs. And the bottom line is doing the work. And so it took several different companies and several different um, building of organizations, and having the organizations crumble and fall apart, be right under your feet, because this happens a lot in that type of business. And so right now I'm only involved in kind of a small multi-level marketing company that I'm just doing it more for the connections that I've made as a result of it than I am as far as trying to build another business, because I've just got too much on my plate at this point. And I think that's something else I've learned, is that if and when the time comes that I elect to go back down that path, it's going to have to be a full-time commitment. Otherwise, it's not. If you treat those businesses as a hobby, that's exactly what they are. They're never going to replace your income. They're never going to set you free. So these are things I learned as a result of those years of being exposed to that type of stuff.
I've got that, and I love this. I've heard this before, about a business being a hobby. And that's been something that's kind of hit in my face in the past few years, as having, a business out here with Raquel, and a business on my own, and my own coaching, um, and, fitness. And, what's so much fun is like when your accountant tells you, this is how much you made. And I'm like, in the space of growing and developing. And he's like, your hobby did well. And I was like, my hobby did well, but again, it's just that thing that triggered me, and I'm building and growing. But what I really heard from you is this sort of boundaries. Raquel has been talking, when we talked about boundaries, like for you and what I heard was this, like, I know where I'm at. My cup is filled with X, Y, and Z. And so I've got this boundary right here that whatever I'm adding and expanding in my entrepreneurial life, I'm going to just follow this path for the connections, the learning, and the development. I am choosing not to do this part of that. As you said, you have a full-time job and you've got these books and other things going on. And so knowing yourself, knowing those goal settings, and then saying, okay, when I'm ready, and I'm going to pivot and then do this full time. So I'm hearing a little bit of boundaries in there, and knowing yourself of what's available. Tell me if that lands, and anything that lands for you, sis, that you hear.
Yeah, that's we touched on a little bit again last night. The same thing. Yeah, that you've got to make hard decisions about not so much what's right and what's wrong for you, but yeah, I mean, we touched on a little bit when I talked about the interview with Dean Graziosi, and the learning to say no, and realizing that if it does not serve myself, my wife, and the path that I'm on, then I have to say no. I have to really keep those boundaries, those walls up, whatever it is you have to call it, to stay focused and to continue down a straight path instead of a path that a Labrador retriever goes down. You know, bunny, birdie,
You know, it's
squirrel, stick, pond.
Carl, it's interesting you're saying a straight path. And I'll be honest with you, my path is not straight. Okay. And sometimes it's not easily laid out. It's not a like baking a cake where you get the recipe and you've got to add the
Mhm.
ingredients in the order that they suggest. Most times, I will tell you, my path has not been straight. It is always weaving in and out. And I'm okay with that because I understand that if it was straight, I'd miss some things that I need in my life, as small and minute as they may be. Those twists and turns, they serve a purpose. So I'm not sure if I, and you have it your way, but for me, it's not a straight path, because sometimes that straight path, as I said, you miss some things, and that straight path, they have bumps and hurdles and all of this. That's why you had failures, right? So it's not necessarily a straight path. Sometimes we have to go right to come back, and then we have to go left to come back. And I'm okay with it, and I've accepted that that's how my life goes. And what I've learned is every stumble, every challenge comes to grow me as a person. So I don't take challenges personally, like, oh my gosh, this is happening to me
Mhm.
again. Why me? Life doesn't happen to you, life happens for you. And when we totally grasp that life happens for you, we start thinking differently. Because when we sit back and look, and I know for myself, so let me speak here. When I sit back and look at all the stumbles and challenges that I've overcome, in that moment, I was like, oh my gosh, why? And when I do it, because they say, and this too shall pass, when I get through it, it's like, now I know why I had to go through what I went through. Without that, I would not be the person I am today. And I'm thankful for it. And what I'm learning in this season of my life is that when tough and challenging times come, I know there's something I'm supposed to get. So I hone as much as I can on what it is I'm supposed to get so I can get through and keep on going to fulfilling my God given purpose.
Mm.
Love it.
Awesome.
Yeah, I
So that's
really
how I see it.
I love it. And that, that kind of goes full circle. Behind the scenes, I was sharing with Carl about another uh, networking call I was on, and that was the conversation. Know thyself, right? Know
Mhm.
thyself. Raquel is quite clear, that it's not a straight path, and everything leads to something. I'm very similar to her. Very similar. I think for Carl, you got your full-time job, but you've got this book going out, you've got some, another book that you've got created, you've got time over there, your wife. So I'm like letting people know, like, hey, inside of the topic of self-care and self-love and boundary settings, it's know thyself, right? Really start with you
Absolutely.
and go into that inquiry of you. And I agree with you, sis. It's not a one path. It's not a
Well, if
path forward.
yeah, if I may clarify that there was a little confusion on that. I was referring to when I talked about Labrador Retriever syndrome. I'm talking about shiny objects. I'm talking about not stumbling to the left and the right off of the path. I'm talking about going 40 yards out this way and 50 yards out that way. I've learned to laser focus my direction, which of course has all kinds of bumps and valleys and hills and forks in the road. But I, again, just to kind of reiterate or back up, when I talk about shiny object syndrome is what everybody likes to call it, and that is where every time you open a new email, you're buying another program, thinking that this is going to be the one that solves it all, that sets you free and solves all the problems, and then you find out that you're now working on 6 different projects and none of them are moving forward because you're running all over like a chicken with your head cut off. So not so much about I guess again my idea of laser focus is that I have an end idea in sight, And that is the main part of my focus, which is my coaching, my writing, and my speaking.
Like we started, the visionary that you are, right? That's the big picture. Now where all that goes. That's great. It's awesome. Carl, why don't you let people know where they can connect? I've been putting it up there, but what's the easiest way? Just speak it out so people know how to, if they're interested in connecting, knowing more about your book, having a conversation, maybe having you on a stage or a show. Where can they reach you?
Yeah, absolutely. KarlFryburg.com, which is KarlFryburg.com, is my best first line of conversation and connection. Within there is my speaker one sheet that explains, a little bit more about me and what I do when I speak, and links to my courses, links to my books, links to all these interviews. This interview will also be posted up in the website when I get the hard copies of them, and then I move them over to the website as well. And it's got all my contact information there, and it's just the easiest way for me to keep it streamlined. And of course, you're welcome to find me on Facebook. That's primarily I'm on Facebook. I'm trying to expand into LinkedIn because of the business aspect of it. But right now it would be Karl Fryburg or KarlFryburg.com.
Awesome.
Carl, thank you so very much for coming and doing the behind the scenes with us. Great conversation. I usually like to listen to my guests and chime in as necessary. So thank you so much for creating and allowing that space within your interview. Truly appreciate you and everything that you're doing, and we are looking forward to your book coming out. Do as I say, not as I did, and I'm paraphrasing. So we would hope that you come back on once you launch your book so that we can chat about that. Truly appreciate you. And remember, guys, together we can rise and thrive. Till next time.
Thank you.